I think the website had only been up for a couple months at that point. It was the most viewed video of all time on YouTube. We would just get random people running around our house and giggling like, and it was straight out of a horror movie, or people ringing the doorbell, ding dong, ding dong. The thing that freaked me out most, where I realized, oh shit, we really gotta take this seriously, was I opened up Twitter and I saw that I had this tweet to me that was a picture of me through my bedroom window. Some of the comments were so hyper specific. Am I nothing without an attachment to Smosh?
How has your relationship to this online fame been? Do you have a tip on how to do a great intro? Hi everybody, today I had the chance to interview Anthony Padilla. He got started when YouTube was only 2 months old in 2005. And even had a video website before that. And he got the most liked video, the most subscribed channel at the time. And he's been in this game for over 17 years. I mean, you started Smosh, like, was it like 20 years ago?
It's almost, yeah, 17 years ago.
17 years ago, like that's like the OG.
Well, I guess if you count the website, that's like, it was 21 years ago for the website, but then
Smosh.com.
17 years ago. Yes,
Wow.
exactly. I was 14 and I was just programming a website, not knowing that it would be anything.
How did that, like,
Yeah.
why did you even get started, like, interested in programming a website in 2002?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I grew up in a household with just, we struggled financially, and it just felt like my mom's agoraphobic. Geez, there's a lot to unpack here. My mom's agoraphobic, which means that she only feels safe at home, and she does not go out. So it's very debilitating. And I had this fear growing up that I would live that same lifestyle. Eventually, at some point, something would happen. I would start having panic attacks as well. My anxiety would become out of control, and I would also feel like my only safe place was at home. And that fear was always just kind of eating at me in my head. You know, I might be trapped in this home in some way, like my mom, if I don't do something. And
So you thought you would get that same phobia, like that you would?
Yeah. And I thought that it was genetic, because her mom dealt with some issues as well, and it was just this lingering fear. And my dad, you know, my mom and dad are separated, but my dad has been there in my life, and he made sure to get me a computer because I was fascinated by technology and what computers could do when I was young. And every time I would see my computer sitting in my bedroom, yes, I was a very lucky kid. I had a computer in my bedroom connected to the internet at 12 years old. Don't ask what I searched. And I saw my computer as a gateway, like infinite resources, you know, like it was just data that you could just create, and the only limit was what my mind was capable of conjuring up. So while I felt so limited with my resources in real life, the tangible, like nothing didn't feel like I had any tangible resources, but my computer just felt like infinite resources. So I just kind of became obsessed with my computer and the internet and what I could do if I could just search something, you know? So I taught myself everything that I could. I was fascinated by learning how to program games. I did Flash animations. I wanted to have a place to put my own animations and stuff that I made. I felt like there was no way for my small group of friends and I to keep up after school. So I made Smosh.com and put a forum on there where we could all communicate with each other. And it kind of became a hub for a lot of different people at my school to have a place to communicate. And that's kind of the beginning there. And I just became obsessed with how exciting it was that if I could just think of it, I could search it and I could learn it and I could make it happen.
So that was like, was this back in the Alta Vista days? Like, you know?
Yeah. I was asking Jeeves a lot of things. I had my
Netscape.
Angel Fire and GeoCities website.
Wow, wow, this is really, like, I think back then, I'm I'm a 3 years younger than you, but I think back then I had a
Mm,
modem, so I had to, call. I had to use the phone line, so nobody else in my household could use the phone once while I was
yeah.
on the internet. Was that the same thing for you, or were you like on broadband
Yeah.
ADSL?
Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. It was not broadband. My
Yeah,
mom was pissed because I was using the dial-up internet all the time, all the
yeah,
time. She
like
could
the
never receive a
56.
phone call.
Yeah,
We could
never
have
see.
death in the family. She would have known for weeks.
Exactly. And you would
Yeah,
pay per minute, and it would be like the signal you hear. Like,
yeah.
not younger people won't know this, but there's like a super distinctive like signal audio sound when you call like when the modem
Oh, you mean
calls. Exactly that. Yeah. Ex-
boom, 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 boom.
it
You know
like
that kind
yeah,
of thing. Yeah,
exactly.
robots
It
were
tickles like,
talking to me.
oh yeah. That's the
Hmm.
sound you never forget if you're, I think, born in
No,
that area.
never forget. Also, did you ever use free internet back in the day that was powered by ads?
No, I didn't. What was
Because
that? Sounds like a lot of ads.
I ran out of my 120 free hours of AOL. So you know those CDs. Did you ever have those CDs in Sweden? Or it was just like free AOL hours?
We didn't have like it's kind of weird because it was kind of
Yeah.
like a state program where they subsidized computers, so a lot of households
Mm,
had them. But I think then you
yeah.
paid like your phone like service something. Like we paid per
Mm.
minute, so it was like a you had your
Oh.
I had a minute a minute quota per week that I could spend on internet
Oh.
in my family. Yeah.
Got it. No, no, I think that we were paying monthly. Usually that's what you would
Mm.
do, but we could not afford that. So I would find any free AOL disc that or CD that had like 120 free hours on it, and I would use it up. And after I used up too much of those things, I found this free internet, and you had to like it was covered in ads. Like 1/8 of the screen was the browser, and then the rest were ads. And then every once in a while, you couldn't even use the browser because it would show you an ad there as well. It was horrible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds that sounds a bit intense. But you were like learning you were basically learning by yourself. Like you found ways to find stuff online and then like develop that skill and then like applying that's like what people are, paying these gurus thousands of dollars to do
Mhm.
now. But you did that like that.
Yeah, Google searches and nothing like, it was all different sources and nothing was like there was no hub.
Yeah.
You know, you couldn't go to YouTube and search for tutorials. It was whatever random site and forum that you could find. Uh, a lot of just trial and error because people would say things that just would not work.
Mm.
So,
And
yeah.
then Smosh kind of like developed into this media platform that eventually became YouTube. Or like, can you take me through how that development happened?
Yeah. So I had this website and I learned very quickly that the more popular that the website became, the more expensive it became to run it. So then I became obsessed with finding ways to monetize it, to put ads on there. I signed up for Google AdSense when it was in its infancy, and you know you'd make $3 a day, and I mean that was a very good month. $90. Whoa, bro.
Yeah.
In a single month, and I I decided it was worth it. I pooled money together with my group of friends. I think they all gave me like $5 a month, and we had enough to pay for this. And
Kind of like a
I
crowdfunding or like just as a
yeah,
donation?
crowdfunding
O
with my 7 friends.
okay. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Well, actually, no, I did also make T-shirts that I sold to a bunch of people at my school to earn money as well. So I was over at my dad's place and I saw that he had a webcam, and I didn't know anyone in the world that owned a webcam. So I was super impressed with it, and I was like, "Can I borrow this?" Spoiler alert, I never gave it back. But I borrowed it, and uh, my friend Ian, we would hang out all the time, and he would it was the kind of friendship where you would literally have nothing to do, and you would just sit in the room, and you would both just be doing nothing. And I remember I had torrented the Power Rangers theme song, and I turned on the webcam that I just got, and I started doing some dumb lip syncing to it. And Ian popped in and he did a little dumb thing, and then we just kind of did that back and forth. And I downloaded, torrented an editing software, and there was no tutorial for how to use it, and I wasn't about to read this ridiculous manual with all this information I didn't need. So I was just, tinkering with it, and I edited together the Power Rangers theme song lip sync video, which was the very first video that Ian and I ever created together. And I put Smosh.com in the corner and hoped that maybe it would find life on the internet somewhere, draw traffic back to the website, we could earn money. The only issue was that there was no place to host the video except on my own website. Like, without YouTube, before YouTube, where do you host the video?
Yeah.
So I was lucky enough to know how to host my own content on my own website. The only issue is that video files are very big, and no matter how much you compress it, because you want to make sure that everyone on their dial-up internet can actually view it, it's still expensive. Every time someone watches that, you have to pay a couple cents.
Yeah.
Right? Because the bandwidth is pretty expensive at that time. So I utilized MySpace, which didn't allow you to host your own video. So I hosted on my own website, but put it on MySpace. So every time someone went to my MySpace profile, it would load from my website. I'd pay 2 cents for them to see it. My pleasure, I'll cover the costs. And I think the smartest thing I ever did at that time was I coded this little iframe. And if you're familiar with HTML, or if you're not familiar with HTML, it's this little box that displays other content. It's scrollable in its own little window. And I put instructions for I was like, Control A to highlight all of it, then Control C to copy all of it, then go to your MySpace profile, press Control V and paste it in there. And the only way I found out that people started doing that is because my bill started being higher and higher on Smosh.com. That was the only way. There's no way to track any of this stuff. What?
Your video analytics at the time was your monthly bill.
Yes,
but
exactly.
at the wrong end, with a minus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the deeper I was in the red, I was like, should I be happy about how much I'm having to pay for this? But I think the smartest thing about that was every time someone pasted that to their page, I embedded another instruction and iframe on how to do that. So they would copy it from mine, paste it to theirs, and then it would automatically be under their video too, informing others how to do that. And it became kind of a viral thing after we uploaded our Mortal Kombat lip sync video. We were like, I guess we're the lip sync guys. Our 12 friends loved it. So I saw that the bill was like $300 one month. And I was like, yo, I think this means that a lot of people are viewing this thing. So I went on Google and typed in Mortal Kombat theme song, and it popped up on this website, which now I know is called YouTube. At the time, I couldn't remember what the name. I was like, was it iTube? What? I couldn't figure out what the name of this website was for the longest time afterwards. But I decided to message them and ask them to remove the re-upload that they uploaded there. It had like 12 comments, and I was like, yo, this new website, we can host the video there, and I don't have to pay for this. So that was the biggest draw to upload on YouTube, not even like some kind of notoriety or fame from the video. It was like, I don't have to pay the $300 a month. YouTube will front this for me.
So somebody else had uploaded it? You found it there?
Someone else had taken the video from my server and put it on YouTube. And it was November 2005, before YouTube even really was a thing. It was like in its infancy. I think the website had only been up for a couple months at that point. It still said beta on the logo. And a few days later, about a week later, we uploaded our video there. And there was this button or this little link at the bottom that used to say suggest for front page. And because I did website programming, I knew that if it wasn't coded in a very specific way, which most people didn't code it in this specific way at the time, you could just sit there and click it, and it would register every click without reloading the page. So I took it upon myself to do a little hours worth of work. And I sat there just clicking. I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know how they programmed it. I don't know if every single time I'm clicking this, it's counting, or if I'm just sitting here doing this for nothing. And I still don't really know if,
If it
if
added
it
to
did anything. But the next day it was on the front page of YouTube.
Oh,
And the front page of YouTube was the only place that you could find new content without just kind of searching through stuff on YouTube at the time. And at that exact time, news articles started posting about this new website as well. Like, is this the future? Will video be the future? Considering we're all on dial-up internet right now, it probably won't be, because nothing better than dial-up internet will ever exist.
yeah.
But everyone started going to the website at that moment, and there was our video on the front page. And I think, yeah, I remember at the time you could refresh the YouTube page and it would be live updating. The views would go up every single time you updated the page. And it was the most wild feeling, where the moment that the page refreshed enough for you to see the number, I would click refresh and it would go up by 2 or 3 views, because everyone was funneling into YouTube at the time.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of it. And I was just happy that I didn't have to pay for the bandwidth myself.
Was that like one of the videos in the early days that really took off, like in virality already then? Or did that happen after a while?
Yeah, that was the first video that we ever made. That was
Yeah.
definitely the beginning of my career doing any of this.
Yeah.
And I think within uh, a month or so, it had 1 million views.
1 million
And
views in
it was actually
2005.
yes,
Wow.
and that's huge. And it was the most viewed video of all time on YouTube, because when you clicked videos, it would first go to most viewed of all time, and then you would have other tabs of the month, of the week, of the day, and that just sat there as the #1 most viewed video for months, until it
W-
was eventually taken down in 2007 for copyright infringement.
Oh, okay. Because of
Yes,
the
yeah,
okay.
yeah. It had
Yeah.
24 million views by the time it was taken down,
And then it was taken
which
down, so
was insane.
it's still it's not there if you search for it, like
It's
in
not there.
the same form.
If
Oh.
you, I remember having access to the Smosh channel, which I don't have anymore, but I remember, you would go there and it would just say "removed for copyright infringement," 24 million views. I was like,
Oh no, that would have
yeah,
been some like something for MoMA. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
some of the
I wonder how many views it would have, because people have re-uploaded it and those have
yeah.
tens of millions of views.
Yeah, there are different
I'm
versions.
so curious.
I checked. It was like different versions, but I checked 2 and both of them had like at least 2 million.
That's insane. My
Yeah.
favorite part was searching for the video and finding it popping up with all the different languages that the Pokemon theme song had been dubbed into. So it was like Turkish, then it was the Japanese version, then it was like the smaller and smaller, like Romanian, all these smaller languages. It was so cool to like hear how it sounded.
How did that change your life? Like when this happened, you went from being, I guess you had some anxiety about getting this phobia eventually, and then you
Yeah.
suddenly are, well, YouTube is not what it is today, obviously, but you were also like kind of killing it on the platform.
Yeah.
How was
I
life?
mean, my entire life changed at that moment. I didn't realize it at the time, but it took my attention away from my fears, and it funneled all of my attention to my excitement about the endless possibilities. And that excitement that I had looking at my computer, feeling like it was infinite, never ended. And I felt like all I had to do was just continue learning and learning and absorbing as much as I could about the possibilities, and I could literally do anything. It was a wild feeling to feel like I could, like you're told as a kid, you could do anything if you put your mind to it. And I felt like I had that opportunity given to me, and I wasn't about to let that slide.
And you were like 18, 17, 18, or something like that? Or,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I had
So
just turned 18 when that video was uploaded.
did you ever like
Yeah,
think about it like from a business perspective, or how, what were your thoughts on it?
I mean, it's weird because there was no way to make money on the internet through video at the time. There was no monetization until 2007 when the video was removed for copyright. I think they probably realized, oh, people could make money on this now. You know what? This video's gone. Um, but we were one of the first channels, one of the first 10 channels to be introduced into the monetization program on YouTube. And I was like, oh shit, I could buy a car. I can do all these things that I never thought that I would be able to personally do myself. And I didn't ever think of it as a business, but I just knew that I loved doing it, and all the money that we made from it, I was putting into like very important things in my life. Decided, you know what, after 14 years of having the same bed, probably time to upgrade my bed, get a car. But other than that, all the money was funneling back into the production. And we were just excited to see all these possibilities that we had.
And that's like high school age. So after high school, you were basically putting all your time into this when school was done, or how did you spend the
Yeah,
time?
I started going to community college. I knew that there was no way I could afford to move to a different city or go to a big college. So I decided, you know, I'll do the cheapest option that I have for college. And I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I started taking classes that would lead me toward business administration. And I didn't know exactly what that meant, but in my head, I was like, okay, I can maybe learn how to run a business. I like running a website. I like the idea of having a team working under me where I could just come up with ideas and then I could tell someone and they could make it happen. So I thought that might be the path that I was going to go down, and I would just have to learn how to utilize those skills later. But it turns out that I didn't need to go to college to learn how to do that stuff. I was so excited about it. And my brain was just s- so it lit up at the idea of putting all these things into practice that I decided I didn't actually need to go to college. And I don't think it was that scary, but I told my parents, you know, like I can always go back to college if I need to, but this opportunity that I have now to make videos is a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I would be a fool to pass it up. And they agreed, luckily. And, you know, partly maybe it's because my mom never graduated high school. So maybe she was like, you know, I didn't like foresee you being like the valedictorian, uh, kid that gets straight A's anyway. It's fine. You know, I think she really saw that, you know, while I wasn't very excited about school, I was so excited about this. And I really did. I think she could feel that I just had this passion, this feeling of infinite possibilities. So she was like, "Yeah, go for it."
So you dropped out in the first year? Or
Yeah, I dropped out of all the classes that I didn't want to take. I dropped out of, and then I started taking only elective classes that I felt like maybe could benefit me. I took film writing class. I took acting for camera and improv. And I just focused on only the classes that could benefit this vision that I had about, you know, possibly turning this YouTube thing into a longer term goal.
and then you ran this and you built it, kind of like built a team around this as well. Can you take me through like how Smosh eventually developed the relationship there with you and Ian?
Yeah, so I had a ton of experience doing the website, so I was spending a lot of my time still programming that and maintaining that. And then I spent all of my waking hours learning how to edit and do anything that I could that would benefit making these YouTube videos. So Ian was able to focus more of his energy on writing the ideas that we had. So we would spitball ideas, we would write notes together, and then I would be editing a video that we had just shot while he would be writing out an actual script. And, you know, we learned together how to write scripts based on some classes that we took in that community college together. And it was a slow process of like, oh, you in our acting for camera class, you know how to hold a camera. And it was just some guy that we got along with well. So we brought him on kind of as a freelance person to shoot some stuff with us. And then it was really just like slowly but surely people, like someone from our class knew someone else who could do audio. So then we brought them on. And we built a very, very small production team of, I think, 4 or maybe 5 of us. And we started getting some recognition from outside places around 2008, 2009. And because I had this website, we worked with a company that was able to put ads on the website for us. So that was the only way for a while that we could make outside revenue off of YouTube, besides selling t-shirts, which we were printing at the shady warehouse behind my
Yeah.
house next to the grocery store that was really disgusting and probably illegal. And then packaging them in my bedroom and taking all this huge box of packages to the post office, waiting in line, everyone behind us grumbling because they just have one package and we have like 70 t-shirts that were like, yeah, just ship them out. But, you know, when we, that was very difficult to do that all by ourselves. So we had some outside help with selling some ads on the website. And by 2011, we were 6 years deep into doing YouTube, and they said, hey, you know, we're having some success. You know, you're funneling a lot of people to the website from the videos, because we'd always put the smosh.com address at the beginning of every video. So people started going there. We started
That's what
releasing
drove
some
them to the
exclusive.
website. I was thinking like,
What was
what makes people go from a YouTube video to a website? But that's because you had this watermark in the video. Yeah.
Yes, watermark. And also
Mm.
we started releasing Smosh extras, and they were behind the scenes clips, they were bloopers, they were just us messing around while shooting a video. And a lot of people went over to the website to check out this extra content. And because I spent so much of my time learning how to program before we started doing videos, I still was doing that. And I created a little community on the forums. And at the time I had it so that every single person that was online and logged in, their name would be listed out, name, comma, name, comma, name. And I remember, you know, before, I'd say at the peak of the website, it was something like 4,000 users online. And I went to the page and it was just name, comma, name, comma. It was like books and books and books of just all these people online on the website just to see the extra content. And then
Wow.
they found a community of people that also like the same kind of content. And I thought that I was going to turn Smosh.com into like a social media platform for people that liked memes. And it just became so much for me to handle that while also doing the video stuff. And the company that was selling some of our ads was like, we have an offer for you. Listen up here. We could potentially purchase Smosh. And that idea of selling my company for something that was worth anything was just unfathomable. You know, I
Yeah.
grew
Was
up
that
without
even on
much
your
money at all.
radar? Like, did you know
No,
those
no,
things
no, no,
happen? Yeah.
never considered it at all. And it was a very difficult decision. You know, they were like, we can offer you stock in the company, and therefore, obviously, this company is going to grow to be massive. So, you know, the value will be this amount now, but obviously it's going to go much, much more. And I was like, whoa, the possibilities are insane what I could do if this ends up being a really big thing. And we had a lot of people that we really trusted telling us that it was the best idea, because not only would we have some stock in this company that we thought would be a very, very big company, but also, you know, on top of that, there was a little bit more stability, because there was no stability. Before that, your check was super, super low, then super high one month and super low because the views were low. And it just felt like, I think I was scared of having kind of that chaotic financial situation that I was in growing up. And I wanted some stability. All I wanted to do was not have to worry about money. And they offered us a 4-year contract to continue working for the company and be a salaried employee. So I could have a guaranteed amount of money that I just knew would come in regardless of what the situation was. And in 2011, I was a little bit nervous about the state of YouTube, because they were changing so many things up too. So I had that a little bit of fear and also the excitement that they offered us. Hey, we have so many resources. We can take over all this website stuff for you. All the things that you want to do with the website, done by us, taken care of. You don't have to worry about that. And we can help you with production. You have ideas that you can't bring to life because you're bogged down. And that was the most exciting thing, all fear aside. I was so excited about the possibilities of where we could take this thing and how many new opportunities that we would have. So we decided we would sell it. And that was in 2011.
And you and Ian were owning it like half half before that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we both owned it. We had a manager who owned a small portion of it with us. Ian's dad actually owned a very tiny bit because he was an accountant and he did all the tax stuff for the company. We were like, I don't know how to do this shit. Finances, I don't know. Numbers, I don't know. So he took care of all of that. And, we sold at that time and things were really, really great for 3 to 4 years.
And you got to
At
do the
that
same
time,
thing as you've been before, but just with more resources, more possibilities. Was that a
exactly. And I got to focus all of my energy on just writing these videos, coming up with ideas, which I love doing, and just being in the videos. And, overall, it just felt like I got to spend my life hanging out with my best friend, making each other laugh, writing scripts together, just
sounds like a
it
dream.
felt like it was a dream, and it felt like that same magic that we felt just hanging out with each other after school and in high school. And we got to live that every single day. And all the things that came along with this that were too much for me to handle and overwhelm me, someone else now got to take care of. So it just felt like this golden era right after they purchased for about 4 years where we had so many resources and anything that we thought of, we could make happen. And the reason I keep saying 4 years is because I feel like around that time, 4 years deep, I started to realize that it wasn't just, anything that I wanted to happen, they could help happen. It was like, you know, we signed to do, we were getting paid at a certain amount to do a certain amount of work and we signed that contract. But then it became this nagging sentiment of, you should be doing more because you have stock in the company. And the more that you do, the more that the value of the stock raises. So you got to do more, launch this channel, launch the cartoons channel, do a comic book, do a magazine, do, this spin-off series. And then every time I'd be like, that's a lot of work. We have too much on our plate. They'd be like, you kind of have to. And then it just became this very draining environment where I felt like I never had a moment to myself. And I realized, oh shit, we sold the company. That doesn't just mean that we have infinite resources and this is still ours. It means that we're working for someone else. Like the most obvious thing, I don't know
Yeah.
how it slipped past me. I think I got, my eyes were just blinded by the idea of all the possibilities. And those last 2 years there, I'd say maybe 2015 to 2017 were really, really difficult for me. And I ended up leaving in 2017.
What was your personal life like at this time? Did you have fans running after you, and like what was it like? Because
It was nuts.
it's still the early days of YouTube, right? So like,
Yeah, it was such an early time on YouTube that we didn't know that you should not record the front of your house with your address in it and upload it to YouTube to be seen by millions of people. We didn't know that we shouldn't go down to the corner of the street and show the cross street intersection where people could easily search that.
yeah.
I mean, we were doing that stuff before like Google Maps was really a thing. Street View wasn't even a thing. So we didn't know that it would be a possibility for someone to just type in the cross streets and then boom, go to Street View and see the exact same image and be like, cool, I'm going to show up there. So there were these times where it was like we would just get random people running around our house and giggling like, I mean, it was straight out of a horror movie, or
Wow.
people ringing the doorbell, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. And it would be like, the
That's
fuck?
scary. Oh my God.
I remember hunkering down. We rolled down all the shades one day. We were trying to edit a video because we were releasing our annual food battle video. and we were staying up late editing that thing, and it was always a situation where I was always on the computer, just going at it, and Ian would be over my shoulder, like, suggesting things, and we would just have no energy because we stayed up for 14 hours editing this thing, and this one day specifically, people were just running around the house. People were like not literally camping out outside, but just like sitting around, hanging out with each other. I don't know why this day randomly there was like 20 people all hanging outside our house. We just shut all of our windows and we were just trying to finish editing this video while people were just ringing the doorbell like crazy.
Wow. Did that ever like, I mean, did anything become really scary at some point? Like, I guess it all like with magnitude, with more people, just more random things happen.
Yeah, I mean, some scary stuff happened. I would say the thing that freaked me out most, where I realized, oh shit, we really got to take this seriously, was I opened up Twitter one day in 2009. So the website was very, very young as well. And I saw that I had this tweet to me that was a picture of me through my bedroom window.
Oh my God.
And, all it said was, hint, I'm your friend and I was drunk. And I was like, and it was a name that sounded like it was a made up person's name. It was like, I don't remember what it was. And I was like, I don't know anyone with this name. And I decided, okay, I'm going to give this person the benefit of the doubt that it really is my friend. So I asked every single person that I knew, and they were all like, whoa, no, that is not me. That's creepy, dude. And I was like, fuck, someone took pictures of me through my window. I'm glad I was not naked. I was just sitting there playing my 3DS, but I very well could have been naked. So I'm glad I didn't see that. I would have had a very different life if if someone tweeted that to me.
Wow. Yeah. You've been in this game for way longer than, you know, many creators that are popping off today. You've kind of seen it the way it is now, where somebody can become, you know, overnight famous over TikTok, but you also had it back then where it was more kind of uh it was kind of wilder also because you didn't know these things that you're not supposed to film your street sign. But like
So
what's your
obvious
view?
now, right?
I think so. Maybe not to everybody, but I guess you learn. And also I think you hear these stories that make you like more you know, aware,
Yeah,
I guess.
aware.
But how has your relationship to this kind of like online fame been?
I've kind of feel like I went I've I've gone the route of just giving the internet all of me. Before, you know, I had a vlog channel with an ex, and we recorded, I think that we uploaded like every single day, and it was like people had insight into my life and my personal life, and I would see constant comments from people telling me how I should or shouldn't live my life, or that I should be aware, or I shouldn't do this, or I'm doing too much of this. And I think it got into my head that I wasn't capable of doing anything without other people's opinions shaping me in some way. And, you know, luckily, after getting out of that relationship, I was able to kind of close the door on opening up myself entirely. And I think that I started to have a better perspective around that time. I think I was, you know, I was in my mid 20s finally. The internet wasn't in its infancy anymore. And I learned the hard way with many different things. And one of those things was that I should not give more to the internet than I feel comfortable with. I thought that I just kind of had to. It was like, oh, people are vlogging now, so you just have to vlog now. And I thought that was just a thing that you just kind of had to do. And I learned that, oh, I can decide what I should or shouldn't put out there. What do I want some random person that I walk down the street to know about me?
Yeah. And also, I don't know what it was like at that time, but where probably there were fewer vloggers at the time also. So like, I mean, people, the audience had fewer lives to get so deep into, if you know what I mean. Like today
Yeah,
you have these
yeah,
vloggers where you can do that, but I guess that also played in that you could get to see
yeah.
everybody and it was in the early days.
Yeah, I mean, there were probably 30 big vloggers at any given moment around that time.
Mm,
And yeah, a lot of people felt very, very invested. It was before we had words like parasocial relationship and
yeah.
things like that.
And Were you always certain, like, I want to stay making videos, like I want to tell stories, or were you ever considering a lifestyle of a 9 to 5 job? Like, how have your thinking around your lifestyle been?
Yeah, so when I left Smosh in 2017, I didn't know what my future was gonna hold at all. I literally thought anything could happen. Um, I've never had a 9 to 5 job though, so I don't even know how I would go about doing that. I've never made a resume. I just anything that I wanted to do, I just found a way to make it happen through the internet.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I ever thought that I was gonna go into like a 9 to 5 job, but I felt like um, I mean, to be honest, I was just so lost, and I felt like I needed to try everything I could with this YouTube stuff because it was all I knew. But also, I did really enjoy doing it, and I felt like I just needed to find my passion again after leaving Smosh because I felt like I entirely lost my passion for what I was doing when I just felt like I wasn't in control of my own fate anymore. So now that I was in control, it brought a whole new slew of worries. And one of the things that I didn't anticipate was when I left to start anew, I was floundering around trying to figure out what I was doing while millions of people were watching me figure myself out.
Mm, right.
And I didn't realize how much pressure I would feel to live up to, the glory of Smosh that I had in part created. I didn't realize that I would feel my sense of self-worth attached to numbers and success. I didn't realize I was feeling all these feelings. I didn't realize that for my entire life, my entire career, anytime that I put in more and more work, I was seeing more and more success. The numbers were rising. And I didn't realize that simply having an excitement and passion for something was not enough to keep those numbers rising. I started figuring out things that I really love doing, but no one gave a shit. And at the same time, I was getting comments like irrelevant, washed up, has been, all these things that
Did
now
that
I
get
wouldn't
to
give a shit
you?
if I heard
Like,
it. But
did
it
that?
definitely did. It
uh,
definitely did because some of the comments were so hyper specific
Oh,
with insecurities that I didn't know I had, but I did have. They were like, Smosh is better without you, and you were the weakest link. And uh, your only success will ever have been for, being part of that.
mm.
And you only had success because you got in earlier than anyone else, and no one would care if you started now. And again, now I wouldn't care because now I find my excitement in creating things and not through the perspective of what other people see of me. And now I'd be able to be like, oh, that's not true. That's not true. But at the time, I was like, is that true? And that was my cue to start going to therapy at that moment, to kind of get a better handle on my perspective of myself and my work and where my self worth and value actually was derived.
And at this time, I guess you also had kind of like the freedom financially wise to play around. I guess that's why you didn't really have to take a day job. Like you had kind of the freedom to try different things out. Uh,
Yeah, I had enough. I had enough money saved up in my bank from my salary that I was able to take some risks. I knew I had about 2 years of, uh, complete and absolute utter failure that I could experience before I had to really start worrying. So I tried not to worry too much about my finances within that time period, and I just I just kept throwing out what I thought could work, and it was just constant experiments, throwing shit at the wall and seeing if it stuck. And I experienced, I feel, I guess, failure after failure after failure. At the time, it felt like failure after failure, but now I look back on it as experimentation. Oh, that didn't go well. Cool. Let's try something new. And I'm glad I didn't get entirely discouraged because there were moments where I was like, am I nothing without an attachment to Smosh? And I'm glad I didn't give up because I finally got to a point where the views were so low compared to what I was getting at Smosh. At Smosh, you know, millions of views a video. My channel, I was getting 30,000 views a video, which of course is a great number to many people, especially when you're climbing up and you reach that number. That's a great number. It's a great benchmark. But
But you're
because I
comparing that,
had
yeah.
so much familiarity with you know, people caring about what I was doing, a lot of people seeing what I was doing, I I was like, shit, no one cares. No one's watching. No one cares about me. And I think that was actually a blessing in disguise because it was almost like it was almost like that scene in Home Alone when he wakes up and realizes that no one is in his house. He's completely alone. And then he's like, I made my family disappear. He's like, I made my family disappear. And I felt that feeling where I was like, no one gives a shit. Let's see what I can do without all that pressure of living up to what I thought someone expected of me. So then it became a fun game of, oh, let's see if that works. Ah, it didn't work. Ooh, some people thought that was interesting. You know, I was actually interested by certain elements of that as well. Maybe I could expand on that. And then I started experimenting with this interview series that I did. Right when I left Smosh, I made this kind of fake interview video about it was where I sat down with other YouTubers who were big at the time and independent because I had just been with a company. I didn't know how to be a YouTuber on my own anymore. So I sat down with them and it took a very purposely awkward tone, kind of like Nathan Fielder a little bit, where I was like, so at the end of my videos, what should I say? Because a lot of people say to subscribe at the end. You got to have a tagline to get people to interact with the video, right? And my buddy John Kozar was like, I don't know, tell them to press the like button. And I was like, I turned to the camera and I was like, press a like. And it was so like purposely awkward, which now Press a Like is the name of my company that I make all these
Ah.
interviews with. At the time, it was like press a like button, but now I've reimagined what the name means. I stared at the name one day; it was all lowercase, all smashed together. I was like, that kind of looks like just two words, press a like, and I was like, oh shit!
Press
Now with
a
this interview series that I'm doing, we're press. That shows that we're much more alike than we might have thought. So that's kind of how, you know, a
wow.
lot of these things have evolved just very naturally now. I feel like at one point, right after I left Smosh specifically, I was like trying to force things to work this way because I thought it should, trying to force people to like this thing because I thought that they should like it because I liked it. But now it's a lot of like, where we just naturally go with these things. And once I had that freedom to just do whatever I wanted when I realized no one gave a shit about me anymore, I started experimenting with this interview series. And I at first it was I spent a day with flat earthers because I
Right.
thought this series I didn't think of it as a series actually at first. I thought that this was going to be, you know, maybe an episode where I sat down with people who believe something really weird. And then I kind of play into believing this weird thing just to see what kind of reactions I could get. And then
Yeah, you
I,
planted new theories and tested them on these people. Yeah. Yeah.
yes, yeah, exactly. I was like, I would try to come up with these theories that were as ridiculous as a lot of the concepts that I was hearing about the earth being flat. And I was like, spin this ball. And then I poured water on top of it. I was like, the water just falls right off. And the flat earther was like, yeah, you're right. Because if the earth was round, the water would roll off it. And, you know, all these weird things, obviously not taking into account physics or gravity, but, you know, we'll let that slide. And I thought that's kind of what it was going to be like. And eventually, you know, a few videos later, I spend a day with furries and I'm learning about furries. And, you know, I had a casting agency help me get the furries that were going to be in the video. And I thought that they were just local furries that didn't know who I was, didn't care, didn't give a shit. But a lot of them were like, I love your stuff growing up. I'm a huge fan. And immediately, obviously, I'm not going to be I'm not going to kind of like clown on someone who's a fan of me. That's fucked up. You know, the flat earthers didn't know or give a shit who I was. So I felt like I was kind of anonymous in that sense. And I decided, you know, that wasn't necessarily my goal going into it, but it very much changed my entire perspective and reason for talking to people. And I actually was really curious. I was like, wait, why do you dress up in a fursuit? Like, so many people hate furries. They think you're gross and disturbing and all these things, but you still do it
So what can you
because you love
explain?
it.
Can you explain just like your definition of a furry, like what that is?
Yeah. So from what I learned from the video is that furries are people who feel more comfortable sometimes not appearing as themselves, as having a new persona. They call it a fursona. And they get to live a life with an image of themselves that they get to choose rather than the one that was given to them. And I saw, this deep humanity in the responses and reasons that they gave me for what they did. And I realized, oh wait, I kind of sometimes wish that I wasn't living the life I was given. At that time I was really struggling with a lot of mental health issues. And I was like, sometimes I don't want to be living this life that I was given. I want to create my own life too, and that was part of the reason I even got into, all the computer stuff when I was younger. I wanted to create my own life. I didn't want to just live the life that was handed to me. And I felt like if I lived the life that was handed to me, all the fears that I had about having agoraphobia and being trapped in this house and just struggling with finances my entire life was going to be my reality. So I created my own. And furries were doing the exact same thing in a different way. And moving forward with that series, that's why the sloth is part of it, because I came out with a sloth fursuit to surprise them. It was like a really cheap one that I got on Amazon, but and we shared laughs about it. And it was this big turning moment for me where I realized that no matter how strange someone appears on the surface, how much society does not accept a type of person for the things that they do or the things that they believe, there is this deeper humanity that you can find with anyone, regardless of how much you agree or disagree with them. There is something about everyone that you can connect with, that you can learn from. And as I started doing this series and doing more and more episodes with more different types of people, I learned about myself. I learned about my own mental health. I learned about my own struggles. I learned more about my mom's mental health and why she has agoraphobia, and all the resentment that I had for my mom growing up for not being able to show up to my graduation, even though I got my hopes up that I had this, skewed perspective that if she shows up to my graduation, it means that she loves me, and I was able to understand by learning about so many different types of people that my mom struggles with things that I don't have to fully understand. And, I did start to learn more to understand, and she's had very difficult things happen in her life up to that point, and it put everything into perspective. All these frustrations and this anger that I had about all these different types of things in my life and different people in my life and different circumstances that I was in, I was able to understand it so much better. And it felt like this release. And I still get that talking and learning from so many different types of people on my show. I feel so much more at peace because I don't have this built up resentment and frustration within me anymore.
I think I think it's so interesting with the interview series because it's the world is becoming very polarized, and there's a lot of
Mm,
voices that don't get heard for more than 15 seconds, or if
mhm.
even. But I learned so much from, just for instance, the episode with the multiple personalities,
Mm,
which
mhm.
I saw was like one of the most popular videos.
Yeah.
It's a very big step from the funny skits, kind of like, and Smosh, and I
Mhm,
guess we also were experimented to having these very serious conversations in some cases. Well, not maybe not serious, but
mhm.
like they're very different. They're not like a comedy show anymore, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I like to have very serious conversations while padding it with with a sense of humor.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
want
an
anything to feel so dark,
no,
that it
exactly. It's
just
still
becomes.
entertainment.
Yeah, yeah. And that has been my biggest passion and excitement with this series is finding ways to have very real conversations that I think people need to hear, and finding a way to make it exciting and have a little sense of entertainment and laughter thrown in there, a sense of humor still thrown in there, so it's still approachable, but not in a way that it feels like it's beating you over the head with just tragedy.
Yeah. It's been hard to like find a common ground because I guess many of these people are very, very different from you. And
Mm,
like very random things can happen. Like in this multiple personalities video, I think it's one of the better videos I've seen
mm,
in a very, very long time.
mm.
And suddenly one of them changes their personality. Is that like a hard thing to handle once you're in that interview? Like, in the way you should react? How's that been?
Yeah, in that video specifically, um, that was one of the videos where I had to throw everything that I expected out the window, because no matter how much I thought, okay, if they switch on camera with me, I'll just keep rolling with it. But it was like I couldn't wrap my head around the concept, so I couldn't wrap it my head around it fully enough to have been able to anticipate the fact that when they switch, they literally might not know who I am, what we're doing. It's like you're talking to a different, it's like that person left and another person came in, So I could not have ever prepared for that. And I think it's strange. That moment does stand out in my head as a very fundamental part of my connecting with people. And it was it was a little scary because I it put into perspective, oh, this can actually happen. You know,
It's real. Yeah.
it's real. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Not that I ever thought it was fake, but it became so much
Yeah.
more real here in the moment. And it did kind of give me a little bit of a panicky feeling. So I was like, oh wait, do I do this? Are there times where I have a lapse in memory, or because I dissociate a lot, and
Mm.
for a large chunk of my life, my way of dealing with I didn't get into the fact that I had this long period where I had intense panic attacks and anxiety, and I felt like I couldn't function for a few years. And I was actually going through it when I sold Smosh. I wonder if that contributed. I just thought of that. But I would dissociate, and I would feel like reality was not real. I felt like I was my thoughts, and that was all that I was, and then I was just perceiving the world through someone else's body, living someone else's life, and that is very scary feeling of feeling like I wasn't real, and I kind of was, faced with that feeling because that's exactly what they were going through, and also in that moment, I realized that these feelings that I have kept secret for so long, I never told anyone that I felt those things. People were comfortable talking about it, that they could get help for it, that they could be comfortable living their life knowing they have this thing and not feeling like they need to hide it. And I also realized that this is just, a more extreme version of something that happens with all of us. We all have a part of us that feels a little bit more like an adult. We all have a part of us that was traumatized by something in our childhood that we sometimes revert to, where we're like, we get very angry or frustrated by something where another person wouldn't because they didn't have our life and experiences. That's a part of us. So we all have multiple parts to us that make a whole version of ourselves. I mean, we can integrate them if we become very aware of them and feel a little bit less like we're being pulled in these different directions. But this is just an extreme representation of something that can happen when very, very traumatic things happen to someone at a very specific time in their life when, the brain is more malleable and forming around the age of 7 to 9. And just because I didn't go through the experiences that they had specifically at that age range, I'm not experiencing it in the extreme way that they are, but there are many different ways that I do experience very similar things, and that really put it into perspective. It made me realize that from the outside, people are like, "Oh, that's strange, that's weird," but it happens with all of us in very, very different ways, even if it's really minor.
Has this shaped your new mission now? Like these conversations, your new mission of telling people that like this is also how life can be, or how you've been thinking about that? Like, what is it that you want to communicate?
Yeah, and one of the most interesting things is I feel like I don't necessarily have to show people, these ways that I kind of do hope people feel and take away these things. I don't have to show them that I want these things. All I have to do is experience it myself and feel these things myself,
Mm.
and it naturally is picked up on by the audience. I think I have had a lot of people comment. You know, I've learned how to have conversations with people that experience things that I could never imagine more. I've learned how to connect with someone that I might have initially thought was strange. And I think, the best part about doing what I do personally, I feel is I get to just experience these things. And it just so happens that the cameras are there capturing.
What is it that you're that are in your plans now? Do you plan to build out? I spent the day with like in the broader media, or focus on the YouTube channel, or where's your head at now?
I definitely want to focus on new media. I feel like at the time when I first got started on YouTube, everyone was like, well, YouTube is just a fleeting thing. You've got better use this as a stepping stone to go into TV or go into movies because this YouTube thing's going to fail and you can't make any money on it anyway.
Yeah.
But now I think that it's more apparent that the internet in general, YouTube, I'll say specifically YouTube, is a place that's proven itself as a platform that will exist for a very long time, hopefully. And I want to continue putting resources into creating YouTube content. I feel like maybe I've maxed out on the amount of I spent the day with videos that I can personally do. But in terms of press alike, we have some plans to see what else we're capable of doing and bringing these experiences to life in different formats that aren't just here with me on these two chairs. So we're excited to see where we can take that.
And so if people want to see, more of these videos and more of you, is that mainly YouTube where they're going, or are you also like focusing on other channels if people want to just find more?
Yeah, I mean, on YouTube, I think is the place that people can go to watch, if they want a full perspective of a full video. But we also have a team that uploads clips to, you got to upload clips and shorter content now to YouTube Shorts, but then also TikTok and then Instagram Reels and then Facebook and Snapchat. So you can find what we do on all platforms. But I think the best experience, if you want to watch a full episode from beginning to end, it's on YouTube.
It's awesome. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm very excited to see what comes next from here. I think this is like the continuation of like a lifelong, work. It's
Mhm.
really cool.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. And in addition to doing this stuff, this is I feel like, I feel like it is one part of me that does this kind of content, but I still have this passion and excitement about doing, a lot of the just silly comedy sketches and stuff like that. So kind of seeing where all these different parts of me can take me with the different types of content that we can create.
Are you still feeling like that's, that's also what you like, you still have your passion in, like these comedy, shorter videos as
De-
well?
Definitely. I
Uh,
mean, I feel like I needed to take a step away from it
mm.
for long enough to be able to have a greater perspective. But eh, I feel like I needed to experiment with all these different parts of me with my curiosity and learning about people. But I feel like there's still this like sense of endless possibilities in my head where I want to continue to express myself and explore all the different types of things that I enjoy doing. And having serious interviews that are still lighthearted is one part, but then also I just really enjoy laughing and creating silly stuff as well. So there's room for both, I think.
lastly, I want to ask you, how happy are you on a scale of 1 to 10 right now?
Oh, that's a good one. I would say I'm a 9. Mm,
Oh,
it's very close to a 10, very close to a
that's
10.
amazing.
I feel like I am at the best point in my mental health journey ever. I feel like I've kind of relinquished my sense that I need to control and force everything to be exactly the way I need it to be. I've, you know, we I've trained a team. Now we have 10 people working on at Press Alike, and mostly on I Spent a Day with now, but 12 now. Okay, I just got corrected. We're at 12 now, and there's so much room to grow. We have idea. We're already developing 2 new series, and I I'm just so excited to see where life takes me. And, doing more of, having more conversations like this, doing more interviews like this, it's really helped me put in a perspective about how lucky I've been to just allow life to take me where it's taken me. And all these things that I've regretted selling Smosh in the way I did. I've regretted lots of different decisions that were really difficult at the time, but they taught me so much. And I wouldn't be here today if I didn't experience a lot of those things that initially I considered negative. So I'm more excited than ever to see where life's going to take me, and I have this amazing team around me that can help bring all these ideas that I have to fruition. And I just keep I have so much excitement about seeing ideas that I have come to life, and I'm excited to see where this all goes.
I love that. I love that. I mean, thank you so much for
Yeah,
sharing the story. That's it's been very interesting to hear, and I'm also very excited to see what you and the team are doing next. It
thank you.
seems like yeah, you have really good things coming.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited for you to see as well. Thank you for having me on, and for
Thanks,
all
man.
the heartfelt questions. I could tell that you've kept up with some of the history for a while, which is just insane to for the because
I did some
it's just
homework.
insane that yeah. But it's insane that Smosh has such a and the things that I've done have created something that you could even do homework about.
Yeah,
It's really interesting. It's really cool to know how this has all just happened. It's been just a fun adventure.